Well, it's always been a peeve of mine when somebody talks and never takes a break to give you a chance, because I don't remember 10 minutes ago when you were talking, the question I wanted to ask. So,
Yeah.
one of my peeves.
Okay, so the thing that we're talking about, how people keep carrying on. Okay, and it is for a lot of, it is a peeve for a lot of people. So, and how about the notion of that inner voice, and I want to sort of briefly reiterate some of this, that notion that we have an inner voice that's our homing device that knows who we are and what we need to do in every moment. And yet we lose touch with it, and our job as listeners is to help return that person to their own wisdom. And that's a different philosophy than how we usually are. Yes?
When you were saying that, it reminded me of a book that I read by Henry Cloud, and he talks about babies know, they instinctively know what is bad for them, and they will cry out and make a fuss. But as we grow older and we're enculturated, we learn how to take things into ourselves that are actually harmful.
Yes.
And not
Right.
push it away like babies naturally do.
Right. And yeah. And so what might be good for us, what might be good for me, might not be what's good for you. And so for me to say, well, you know what you should do, or to interrupt you and say you're wrong, is not right. Is not allowing you to grow. So this type of listening is really very growth oriented. It's here to help one another be the best people that they can be. And in the process, we become trued. We don't have to take control of somebody else's life. We can step back, detached, and in our own sphere, in our own orbit, not trying to take responsibility for everybody else and depleting ourselves. One of the things I say in these pages is that what we do when we do this kind of listening is we get ourselves off the hook, because we don't have to fix it for people, but we do help them fix it for themselves. And so it's a great, all those people who want to, I was as codependent as they come. And I think that maybe that's why I learned about listening, because I wanted to fix it for everybody. It felt like if somebody was hurting, that it was my duty to help fix it for them. If it came on my plate, then I had to fix it for them. And I found the best way to fix it for them was to return them to their own wisdom. I liken it when we are confused, when we're out of true with ourselves. It's like when we're angry, when we're sad, mad, depressed, it's like our brain is in a train wreck. And all the cars are all over the place. And when we listen to somebody, what we do, here's the train wreck, we take the car and we go, oh, so you're having a problem with your boyfriend, and you're really mad, and you put that car next to that. And you decided that this week you need to make a decision about that. So what would be the first thing you'd like to do? And we put the cars back on the track. We don't give any advice. We don't write it for them. We just line it up and organize their thoughts for them so they can ride off on the train. Because we get into a train wreck when we're overwhelmed. And so that's all we're doing, is trying to help somebody sort out their own train wreck. Mental train wreck. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So just a couple little things here. When we really listen, we put ourselves aside while speaking, while the others are speaking, and become present to a separate reality of the other person. We tend to think that we own each other in a way, or we are responsible to each other, but we're not responsible for each other. If I can differentiate with that little one slippery preposition there. We tend to think that unless we've glommed on and taken over and really gotten ourselves totally enmeshed in somebody's lives, that we aren't loving them. And I'd like to argue that loving is really a form of detachment that allows somebody to live their lives true to themselves. And so that it is, we see them as having a separate reality from ours, even our children. that our children have their own lives to live, and that it's a separate reality from ours. And so we step back and we say, okay, you're in a train wreck, you're at a point of wonderful, actually when somebody's in crisis, that's a wonderful place. Because when somebody's in crisis or point of decision or having a delight or making a plan, that's when they're moving their lives forward. And that's where we go, we step back and we say, how can I help you be yourself? And we separate from them. We don't say, oh, well, I'm just like you. Oh, and I had that experience too. Well, when I was at the crossroads, here's what I did. We don't mess ourselves up with their lives. We step back. And we allow them to take the stage. And I actually almost physically feel like this pool that I've allowed them. There's this place. And it's the place that silence goes to when there's silences. And I allow for them. We're going to talk about that today. So we believe that others are responsible for their own lives. We hear the importance of another's truth even if we don't agree with it. I had a student last night want to talk to me. He's very worried because he's thinking of going into the armed forces. And, Miss Pacifist, I want to say, what the heck you want to do that for? I can't do that. This is his path. He has to walk through this decision. He even has to wrestle with it. That wrestling is worth something for him to get clear about who he is. If I jump in there and say, no, don't do that, then he's going to get less clear. That's just one more piece of advice burdened on there. I can give him information if he asks for it, but I don't want to give him advice. So he sat down across the way, and I just sat back and I just imagined, here's your stage to play out your life on. Let's just put it out here in between us, and let's look at all the options. Let's lay them all out here in front. And there's actually sort of a sense of that physicalness. You hear what people are needing under their words, needs that you may have too. And that's especially when we're in conflict with somebody. Often they're saying, you did this, or you did it, and you did it, and you did it. But really, underneath is, we each have a need to be validated, or we each like the place clean, or we each want, or we each, we might have that underneath, the blame on the top. But we hear somebody's, the fancy word is interest. Somebody might say, oh, I'm just really tired of a messy house with all these people running around. And the interest underneath that is they really want peace. Or somebody is, people constantly calling them and asking them for money and they don't have any, and they're afraid, and again, what is underneath? They want respect, they want stability, they want safety. So when we recognize those things underneath, that's really what's more important often than just the issue, but we're going to talk a bit more about that. And when we really listen, we let them know what we've heard them say. So because what people want, it's relieving. When we hear somebody give it back to us, oh, good, somebody's holding it for me. Now I can look at it. And when we reflect back to somebody, and we're going to do this today, I don't know if I gave you this image, but I imagine when we reflect back and we say, you're mad. You're really mad at him, and you'd like to punch him in the nose. We hold that up. It's like we're reflecting back and we're holding up a mirrored bowl. Imagine this bowl that has a mirror in the middle of it. And the bowl is for holding their story. Come on, give me your story. Well, tell me more. Give me a little bit more information. Yeah, what else is happening? And you're mad, right? And they give us the story. And then we hold it up and we say, so you're really mad? And yesterday you did something that you're feeling a little ashamed of, and you'd like to do something differently, and they're looking at it, and they're going, oh yeah, I really did do something bad, you're right, I did, yeah, I'd really like to do that different again, I sure would. No, it wasn't quite like that, it was like this. But they're getting to see themselves. And that's what we're doing when we reflect back. We're holding up the mirror to them, not in a mean way, in a loving way. We're holding their story for them.